Hey everybody and welcome back. It's Fox with Foxeo Plays. This is our Solaire playthrough of Dark Souls with the DS Fix installed, 1080p, 60 frames per second, with a whole bunch of texture mods. Let's go ahead and level up. We just took care of Artorias. It took us 2 attempts, but we did it. 408, 410, and then we got the point of diminishing returns. So 40 on Faith, I think, will be where we leave it. I know for certain spells you'll need more than the 40 soft cap in either Faith or Intelligence, but we're not going to worry about that. Let's go ahead and repair some equipment. Done, and I don't think we can reinforce any pieces of armor. No, okay. We're absolutely done with our the items that we hold in our hands, our weapons and shield and whatnot. Shield is maxed out, weapon is maxed out, and the Sunlight Talisman, nothing you can do with that. So we have the... Ooh, a summon. We'll go ahead and try to grab that. We have the armor pieces left to try to finish up upgrading. Well, hello there. 1, 2. Excellent. 2 shots. Should be able to hit them in 2 shots even without two-handing. Well, let's find out, shall we? Uh-oh, they're coming. They're coming for me. These are the guys that can drop the goodies that we need. And in fact, it may be worth it to go back to Sin's Fortress and get the Covetous Gold Serpent Ring. But we'll do the regular run through and get to the boss and all that stuff. And then after that, we'll consider going back to Sin's Fortress. Because I meant to get the Covetous Gold Serpent Ring the first time around, I just didn't, for whatever reason, bother doing it. See? The drop rate's pretty good as it is. We've already got 1. That right there is, of course, our shortcut, which we haven't opened up yet. Booyah. Bring it, buddy. Bring it. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, oh, oh. No, 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 no. Ah, I knew that was going to happen. I knew he was going to fling that body off. There goes a large Titanite shard. I was trying to grab it, but it wouldn't bring up the prompt. Oops, miss. So, we kind of got off track from our discussions, and I focused mainly on the Artorias boss fight. Can't really get to any deep discussion while I'm getting my butt kicked by a boss. Even though that was really only the first fight we had with him. Second fight went a lot better. We're not going to run around and grab the silver talisman or whatever it is. We're not going to worry about that. Though we will worry slightly about Marvelous Chester. So, I'll try to see if we can get rid of this guy before we have to tackle Chester. Nice try, buddy. Look at that. He can shoot 3 at a time. How come I can't do that? That would be nice if I could. He's got a nice roundhouse kick that he likes to do when you're up close and personal with him. You like that twirl? Man, he's got some style to him, does he not? And we are not doing a lot of damage to this guy, but let's see if this will help out. Yeah, it does, actually. Oh. And that is that. He's gone. Yeah, so there are some characters in this game, some bosses, that just seem fairly resistant to a divine weapon. I remember that from before. I'd done one other playthrough in which I used a divine weapon, and I can distinctly remember that. There were cases where it didn't seem to do much damage. Whoops, I meant to two-hand it. There we go. We don't really need what this thing drops. I mean, nobody needs it. It's just sort of like a novelty item. And we're not going to drop down there. That's risky. As for a game development or game design topic for today, I hadn't thought of anything. I sort of started this without even thinking about it, as I usually do. We talked about metagame concepts in the episode before the last one. Like I said, the last one was mostly about us commenting on the boss fights. Oh, shoot, right straight to the face. Lovely. Notice you can't 100% block those with a regular shield. I don't know if anything 100% blocks the dark magic. You can, of course, get them to drop their special headpieces, which is hilarious. Oh, wow, almost killed me. Nice. Double kill. I guess I should probably swap out the heal for like a great heal or something, although heal has more uses, so it's nice to be able to top yourself off with it. If you didn't pick up the rubbish from earlier, here's another spot to pick it up. Unfortunately, you cannot trade more than one of the same item to the crow, so even though you can pick up 2 pieces of rubbish, it really doesn't do you any good. I can't remember if it's possible to jump down that or not. It is. Well, that didn't work out as planned. That did not work out the way I planned it. That was funny, though. Alright, let's see if we can reinforce some armor, shall we? No, really? We've only got 1 large Titanite shard? I was positive we picked up more than that. Oh well. You know, when it comes to making Let's Plays, or playthroughs, whatever you want to call them, I can tell you that there are days where you are on and there are days where you are off. Or there are moments where you're on and moments where you're off. Like some moments you're going great and you got this really good little discussion going between just you and yourself and whatnot. What's interesting though is you kind of have this discussion where you anticipate what people would say in response and then you respond to it. It's not crazy. It's just how you do it when you have to talk to yourself with it's just you and the microphone, you know. More Titanite shards, excellent. But that's the price you pay to become a Let's Player. You become one of those guys that talks to himself. And then you're also one of those guys that anticipates people's reactions to what you're saying. Like I do that a lot. I'll mention something and then I'll start off and go, but some people might claim, and then I'll give my response to what those people would say. Come on, guys, drop more items for me. Well, I suppose I could have 10 humanity on me, but at the same time, I'd rather not lose 10 humanity in one shot if I die and can't get my souls back. These guys can do some significant damage, but that makes sense given the DLC. The DLC, for most people, they would be tackling the DLC. Excuse me, sorry, I was yawning. Probably after they've progressed quite a ways into the game. Since by the time the DLC came out, the game had already been out for a year. So there were a lot of people that probably made it pretty far into the game, maybe in multiple new games, or, you know, in general, I think most people would probably have maxed out items. So they'd have all their gear, for the most part, maxed out by the time they hit the DLC. So it makes sense that they wouldn't necessarily build the DLC for a player who's lower level or anything of that. So you would build it for a player who knows what he's doing and has maxed out gear or close to it. Ah, he still got me. Timing. Timing. Let's see here. Love being able to top off with this and not have to waste my Estus. Although I just realized we didn't even bother kindling the bonfire there at the township. That's something we should do. Sooner rather than later. You know, I keep forgetting we have these lightning spears. Ah, lost lock on. Don't you just love when that happens? Oh, we still hit him. Still hit him. Oh, really? Really? Oh, at least we one-shot her. Dang! This guy's ruthless. Yeah, as you can see, they can do some massive damage. Wonder if I could aim this like this. Oh, wow. Tell me that's not good, guys. I got lucky, though, on that one. That was mostly luck. Surprisingly, it didn't catch the attention of the other one over there. But you do have to worry about that that caster way back there seeing you. Honestly, I don't know why, but that caster sees you from far away, whereas these enemies that are even closer to you don't see you. I think that's purely because the caster can hit you from that distance. So that's a bit of an inconsistency, it would seem. I guess you could argue that the caster has a wider aggro range, but you would think that they would have roughly equal. Ooh, boy. Alright, here we go. Thankfully, the caster kind of wandered off into that little alcove there, which can happen, and that does make this session, this little spot here, much easier when she does that. Take that. Now, normally you would actually head up that other area there to get the key and get some other items, but what I like to do is head here real quick and set this off. That way, you don't have to worry about dying and having to run all the way back. You've already opened up the shortcut. Always good to get the shortcuts. I'm also realizing the 360 controller I'm using now is quickly becoming like the other one I had to stop using. It's basically I'm wearing out the left analog stick. The movement analog stick is getting worn down to the nub on the bottom of it. So it's about time to put it up. But the good news is I have an Xbox One controller, and I've got that sitting by. I'm just waiting for Microsoft to release the wireless dongle for the PC. I can, of course, hook it up with a micro USB cable, and it works on PC just great. Works just as well as the 360 with better D-pad, and I just like it better than the 360 controller, the Xbox One controller. However, I'm just not willing to use a controller with a micro USB cable attached to it at this point. I mean, it's the age of wireless controllers, and micro USB cables just don't feel right. I mean, no, that's not right. I'm going to turn off the frame rate map for just a second so I can make this roll and then turn it back on. There we go. Good to go. This is the thing I was talking about in the last episode. I had killed this mimic. It dropped the key. Then an invader killed me and the key disappeared forever. And I was not able in that playthrough to continue the go or golf quests, however you want to call him. And I was not able to tackle Calamite, so that sucks, but it's life. Yeah, grab it as quickly as you can. Boom, there you go. Okay, we got it. Because if you don't get it in time, you just lose out on it, and that's it. There is no chance to get it back if it disappears. It's gone forever. Here. Interesting to hide the twin humanities here. That's a really good hiding spot, so you would think they would pick something a little more unique than just some humanity. And with that, we can head back to the bonfire and level up. Don't want to waste these 38,000 souls. What the heck? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have no idea what just happened. I swear to you that I hit nothing but the left analog stick. I didn't hit any buttons. All I did was hit the left analog stick and move the camera. So that was the right and left analog sticks. That's all I moved, I swear to you. I did not even touch any of the buttons, but I clearly rolled. No idea how that happened. Wow, maybe this controller is really wearing out. But honestly, guys, I swear to you, I did not roll. I didn't even touch any of the face buttons. Wow, well anyway. We can get back there without too much trouble. That's interesting. Yep, it's right here. That is very interesting. I have no idea why that would happen like that. You know, the game can queue up input from earlier, but it doesn't take that long for the input to occur. Usually queued up input happens within a matter of seconds. It doesn't wait like 10 or 15 seconds. It's usually just a couple. Oh, there it is. I was gonna say, I better have my 38,000 souls somewhere around here. Alright, hopefully we don't roll off this time. This is going to be one of my quieter playthroughs. I have less to say. Maybe I've probably been doing too many in a row. I find that after about 3 playthroughs in a row, I need to take a more extended break because I run out of, I just kind of run out of steam in terms of talking. Well, we're done with Faith, so that's good. Points in Strength and Dexterity only seem to increase the damage from my weapon by 1 point at a time, so I guess we'll consider Vitality at this point. Our Vitality is awfully low. And then we restock these guys. Oh, and let's go use as many large Titanite shards as we can. And then we might consider making a dash for the Covetous Gold Serpent Ring, because that'll help us out here in farming large Titanite shards. Although I'm kind of curious as to how many large Titanite shards I need. That's done with large. That one will need 3 more, and that one will need a few more. You know, we might be able to get it without having to run to Sense Fortress. Might be a waste of time to run to Sense Fortress. They drop fairly often as is. Though what we can do is just pop some Humanity to increase our drop rate. We're not hurting for Humanity, that's for sure. We got 18 left, and we're getting towards the end of the game, mostly. Take that, punks. Oh wow, that guy's still alive. See? Look at that. Already got 2. Not bad, huh? You know what we could do? We could just hit the bonfire and hit these 5 enemies right here. That's probably be the fastest route. Just hit all 5 of these guys. Keep upgrading the armor as we go through here. Oh, you know what? We can start upgrading with Titanite chunks. We don't have anything else to use them for. Yeah, keep going. Titanite chunk away. We need 1 more to upgrade the helmet again. Though upgrades to armor you don't really notice as much as upgrades to your weapon or your shield. That's for sure. Increasing our drop rate. Item discovery rate. Oh, jump attack. Oh, missed. Missed again. We also want to get the Great Lightning Spear before too long. Although, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that actually... excuse me. Actually, Gwyn is weak to lightning, which would seem strange given that he's sort of practically like the god of lightning in this game. Or no, he's weak to fire. I know that. He's weak to fire even though he is a fire, even though it's like practically made of fire in some ways. Not really, but you know what I mean. Now, is he weak to lightning? I don't know. Sorry, I meant to say fire, not lightning. Large Titanite Shard, yay. They're also capable of dropping their headpiece, which is pretty much just a novelty item. There's no reason to use it for armor purposes or anything. We saw a couple summon signs here earlier. Oh, you know what? We're not in human form. Let's do that. Alright, we need 3 more Titanite shards for that, and 3 more for that. So we just need 6 more, and then we're done with Titanite shards on the whole. Nothing else requires Titanite shards for us. So 6 more, and we're done. I think we can get that without the Covetous Gold Serpent Ring. One thing I wanted to talk about is Dark Souls 3 a little bit, because it relates to game design, and in particular, travel time in games and how you handle traveling in games. Now, in some games, you don't need to worry about the issue of how the player gets from like point A to point B because it's just a linear progression. An example of that would be Final Fantasy 13. I didn't like Final Fantasy 13 for many reasons. The linear progression being just one of them. Progression through the game. And linear progression of characters for the most part. But there are also many other examples of linear progression games. Games where you go from level 1 to level 2. Most of your Nintendo games, your NES games, have linear progression. Like your Ninja Gaiden games. These are games where you don't have to worry about how you get from point A to point B, or level select games like your Mega Man and all that. There's no need to worry about travel times and whatnot. But when you look at a game like, say, Oblivion, Skyrim, games like that, Morrowind, or Witcher 3, Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, you have to give some consideration to how do you handle the travel time in the game and how you get the player from point A to point B. Now, obviously in the Souls games, you end up just having to hoof it most of the time, unless you're playing Dark Souls 2 and are able to warp from bonfire to bonfire. Or you use something like, say, a Homeward Bone, or the warping of the Lord Vessel in Dark Souls. Or, you know, the traveling between the lamps and Bloodborne, or the whatever they're called in Demon Souls. I can't think at the moment what they're called. Oh, I thought that guy was still alive. I guess not. This guy is, though. And the reason I talk about travel time is mainly because when you have a game like, say, Morrowind, one of the big deals with that game is that oftentimes you'd spend a lot of time going from one location to the next. Certainly was true in Daggerfall, and one of the reasons why I'm actually not that big a fan of Daggerfall. But if you look at Oblivion, I think they went too far in the direction of convenience. Because as soon as you start the game, there are enemies. Sorry, I'm looking at these enemies. There are areas of the game that you've never been to that you can simply fast travel to instantly. Oh wow, none of them actually died. Here I thought they were all dead, and they just all get back up. Freaky. Let's pop another humanity. So as soon as you launch the game, as soon as you get out of the sewers actually, and you see the water and the big world and the trees and the land everywhere, you can instantly pull up your map and start fast traveling to anywhere else on the map that you can that you've uncovered, or that is already uncovered. Sorry, I'm having trouble talking right now. I do that sometimes, don't I? So basically what I'm saying is, all of the major towns are available for fast travel from the very beginning. Now, the reason I have some issue with that is quite simple, because if you allow people to travel to places they've never been yet, right from the start, then what incentive is there to discover things between where they are now and where they want to go? And the honest truth is, there is none. I mean, it's just easy to say, okay, I want to go to this town, well then I'll just travel there, boom, done. I want to go to this town now, boom, done. I actually forced myself to start traveling in Oblivion as if it were like Skyrim. And Skyrim had a very happy medium between the extremely long travel times of some other games and the unreasonably easy instant fast travel of Oblivion. Skyrim required that you discover a location first, but that's freaky how they get up from the ground. Very undead zombie-ish. But the catch was, they also provided you this like wagon service in certain towns to travel to other towns instantly, basically by paying money. And that made sense from a storyline point of view, that there would be a wagon service. And also from, what the heck did I just do? Oh, I just reinforced my mistake. I meant repair. Gotta pay attention to what I'm doing. I'm not getting any drops right now, am I? You know what? We won't spend much time doing this right now. I'll do the rest of it off camera. We're gonna head to the boss after I kill these. No point in boring you guys with some farming. Yeah, but basically, they required that you travel first to the area, and then you could fast travel there from then on. And I felt like that was a very happy medium between what Oblivion did and what some older games do that was actually inconvenient, which required you to hoof it everywhere all the time. There's got to be some balance to it. And I think Skyrim achieved a very happy balance between those and made it part of the storyline as well. So I was pretty happy with that. Definitely more happy with that than what Oblivion did. And I think there's actually a mod in Oblivion. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think somebody made a mod where you can't travel anywhere unless you've been there before. Maybe I'm mistaken, but you know, if that is correct, please let me know in the comment section. I thought that was the case, but I may be thinking incorrectly. That may have been my wishful thinking about a mod. I love it. Like, the whole time they don't notice me, and then suddenly when I start fighting these other guys, oh, now those sorcerers notice me. Sorceresses. Take that, punks. Ooh, large Titanite shard. That's what I need. Whoa! Did you see the way that thing curved at me? Very cheap, I know. It is. Just like arrows from enemies in this game. They curve straight at you. Unfortunately, you can just dodge. So, that's a way out of it. I see this guy coming at me. He thought he was going to sneak up on me. No such luck, buddy. In a game like Dark Souls, they force you to pretty much hoof it for most of the game, and then later on, once you're at the point where you kind of feel like, okay, that's you know, I'm bored of running from location to location, just about the time where you really need the ability to fast travel, they give you a very limited fast travel option, the Lord Vessel. I think that was perfect. I think it came at just the right time, and it came at the right time in the story in which they could allow you to go from one location to the next, to do some things in the storyline without making it unreasonable to run from one place to the next. Some games with backtracking, like say, which Legend of Zelda was it that had a ton of backtracking? I think it was Wind Waker that made you go roam all around from pieces to something. Sometimes those can be some of the most frustrating parts of a game. And Dark Souls solved that problem by just about at the point where they require, actually just at the point where they require you to start backtracking in some ways, you know, going back to places you've already been, they give you the Lord Vessel. So I think that was great timing on their part. I love this little trick here, it's hilarious. What did somebody say? Yeah, enemy ahead. Very true on that. My timing was so off on that. I meant to have the lightning ready by the time they got up there. Alright, let's try this again. Oh, look, I didn't leap off. Thank goodness. I don't know. Was that my controller acting funny? Who knows? There's a bunch of you probably thinking, yeah, right, Fox, you hit that button. You know you did. I swear I didn't. That wasn't me. That was totally not me. Replenishment. Oh, really? Beware of the Cleric Knight, gradual HP restoration. You know, I feel like replenishment can be useful for PvP, but I've never found it to be that helpful for PvE. Let me know what you guys think about replenishment for PvE purposes. I've got one large Titanite shard and I need 2 more to upgrade either one of these. These require Titanite chunks. We may not end up fully upgrading the armor set. I don't know if I'll even consider it worthwhile to bother, you know, farming Titanite chunks and all that just for armor. For weapons, sure. For shield, yeah. But, I mean, sometimes I don't even fully upgrade the shield by the end of a playthrough, depending on what kind of playthrough I've got. And one more time for good measure, because I have a feeling, just like our Thief playthrough, we're probably not going to do a whole lot of damage on Manus. Though you think we would, given that it's the Abyss, you would think that the most powerful weapon against the Abyss would be Miracles in the Divine. There's also a white Titanite slab down here, I believe. If not a slab, then a chunk. But we don't need it now, so I guess there's no point in even worrying about it. This guy will lead us to our doom, and I'm going to follow him all the way. In the hopes that he gives us some chunks or something that we need. Just twinkling. We didn't need that at all. And we also don't need that spell, so we're going to go this way and get the worst frame rate of any area in the game. On my PC, this area performs worse than any other area in the game, without question. Even worse than Blighttown. No idea why, it just does. And it does perform pretty poorly on the consoles as well. Both of them. Whoop. I always end up freeing Sif just because he is actually useful in the Manus fight, if for no other reason than the fact that he distracts Manus. Drop me some humanity? No? Okay, fine. Be that way. So the question becomes, when it comes to travel time and whatnot in games, was Dark Souls 2 a better game for offering the bonfire warping? I think what we realize is most people most people I know that discuss it, that talk about it, they've answered a resounding no. That in general, I think most people have felt and do say that they feel that allowing people to warp from the very beginning actually made the game more, I don't know, it made it less fun, it made it more difficult, because in Dark Souls, you kind of learned where everything was for the most part, other than a few areas like, say, like maybe the Tomb of the Giants because it's so dark. But you kind of figured out where everything was, you figured out the geography, you explored everything, you'd run through it multiple times because you had to. You had to keep running through everything. So you had a pretty good idea of where everything was and how the geography of everything fit together. In Dark Souls 2, one popular reviewer, I remember, commented on something that I felt the exact same way. You kind of forgot what was what and what was where and what led to what, simply because you were always warping, so there was no need to travel from one spot to the next. You simply just warped from bonfire to bonfire, and you kept warping. So you never really got a sense of where everything was in the game and how things were interconnected. I certainly didn't. Wow, frame rate is really bad right now. It's just at like 35. Ironically, the frame rate is still slightly higher than the consoles. When the consoles are at their best, that is. Because my frame rate in here, which tanks, is still staying above 30. Which, you know, the consoles at best run at 30 frames per second. And often drop below that. You know, when a game says it's 30 frames per second, what that means is that it runs at a maximum of 30 frames per second. Not that it is 30 frames per second all the time. People often get confused. When a game says, oh, it's 30 frames per second, or it's 60 frames per second, they're giving you a maximum. So there's a big difference between listing a maximum frame rate and listing the frame rate that it actually runs at. I don't even know if I'm going the right way here. I don't think I am. I think I'm just going to grab an item, apparently. Yeah, Black Flame, which I don't need. Ah, I couldn't see. They were blocking me. Gotta find my way to Manus now. I've never fully explored these to exhaustion. I've just sort of weaseled my way through them each time I'm down here. So just like in the catacombs, I'm not 100% familiar with this area. Not as much as I would be with most of the rest of... Did not know that they could drop green titanite. That's interesting. I think that's the first time I've ever seen them drop a green titanite. At least the first time I remember seeing it. What's this say? Need kicking. This right here is pretty cool looking, I gotta admit. Even if it does tank my frame rate. My frames. Frame rate killers. Sounds like a video game themed band. The Frame Rate Killers. Ooh, a jump. There's the slab. I thought there was... Oh, shoot. Oh, well, it's interesting to note that that is not an endless abyss. There's the bottom right there. In that little corner of the abyss, at least. Well, there goes our humanity status. We'll get it back. Oops, didn't need to use a twin humanity, but whatever. I was hoping to see someone's summon sign. But at the same rate, I guess I haven't been dropping mine very often, have I? So let's drop ours. And hope that someone summons us, because we still do need at least 5 more sunlight medals in order to get our Great Lightning Spear. Though it looks like we're going to make it through the majority of the game without it. At least now we don't have to go get Sif, so we can just go straight down this platform right here. Drop it. Drop your large titanite, darn it. I think this area uses darkness fairly well. Although, for whatever reason, it doesn't perform very well. But for that reason and more, I felt like Dark Souls 2 was less of a game, even though it had more to it, if that makes any sense. Sometimes more is less. I know that there have been several games where it was clear that they tried to make the combat as advanced as possible, and then the process of doing so actually made the combat less enjoyable than if it had just been simpler. Sometimes simple is best. Ooh, I'm gonna go get that item. What is it? What is it? A soul of a hero. That was worth it. These guys can have slightly sporadic movement patterns at times. Don't get me, don't get me, don't get me. Go, 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 go. Safe. Alright. At least you don't take damage here when you come down from up above. Whew, turned around just in time. And I love how that's one of the only summon signs in the game, that in Dusk, in which it doesn't give you a prompt. It simply allows you to summon by clicking on it. You hit the button and it summons, and that's it. It doesn't even ask you for a prompt. Wow, look at how little damage I'm doing. Holy crap. And that was two-handed. And look at that. Look how much damage he did to me with that one hit. Dang. We may end up skipping this guy. Wow. That is a ton of damage. He does a ton of damage to me, and I do very little to him. That's just not fair. But seriously, that is an unreasonable amount of damage. On both ends. An unreasonably low amount for me, given that I'm maxed out on my faith and a max weapon. And an unreasonably large amount of damage being done to me. Give me your Titanite shards. Thank you. At least we can upgrade one more armor piece one more time. We don't need to do this area, and we've made it all the way to Manus, so that's good enough for me. I don't typically fight Calamite. I'm actually not a big fan of that fight. I'm surprised because a lot of people really love that fight. Like they list it as an example of a fight with a dragon done properly. I don't think it's done poorly or anything. I'm just not a fan. I wouldn't ever list it as a particularly good fight, but I wouldn't list it as a particularly bad fight either. Oh no, I'm dead. Wow. They're still hitting me. I'm dead and they're still hitting me. Let's try this again. Didn't even make it to the boss that time. Now, Bloodborne is interesting in that at the moment I can't think of, yeah, there's no warping in Bloodborne because it's structured so that it doesn't need it. Basically, when you look at Demon Souls and Bloodborne, they do have ways that you can instantly teleport back to the lamp or the stone. What is that stone called in Demon Souls? Archstones? But other than that, there are no options for teleporting instantly from one spot to the next, and you don't need that because you can pretty much teleport from any place to the next. I mean, you use any lamp. Wow. What a funny way that I fell. I just kind of fell flat and the legs kind of went sideways. That was interesting. A lot of interesting things in this playthrough. So yeah, in Bloodborne you can just, once you make it back to the Hunter's Workshop, or the Hunter's Dream, that's it. I mean, you could warp anywhere to any of the spots that you would need to go. Same thing with Demon Souls pretty much, as long as you've cleared the area and opened it up. There is no need for instant warping. You pretty much have that ability by nature, just naturally. Not the case in Dark Souls, and it would not have been the case in Dark Souls 2 because there is no central hub from which you go everywhere else like there is in, say, Demon Souls. But they made it possible to teleport from any one place, any bonfire to any other bonfire for the most part. That's how they got around that. Where's Sif? Oh, I'm not in human form. That makes sense. Look at that damage. That is unbelievable. Look at that. Look how many times I hit him and how much damage he took. And you notice that didn't actually hit me. Yeah, I think we're done with that. No way, no way. Look at that. That is ridiculous. Alright, yeah, we're not gonna bother with that, guys. That's too much. That is too much. But we can upgrade, I just need some souls to do it. That's way more than enough. Let's see, we can upgrade the bracelet or the helmet. How about the helmet? There we go. And then repair everything. And let's give up on this. Although, I would like to drop this and hope that maybe someone will pick it up. This used to be a super popular spot to get summons and to summon when the DLC was new, for obvious reasons. Like if you wanted to PvP once the DLC had just come out, you for sure went to one of the DLC areas. The forest was big on PvP for a while too, but everyone kind of settled on the township bonfire as the bonfire of choice for duels, which made sense. It was kind of a nice dueling spot right there, right next to the bonfire. Yeah, even though we just upgraded this to like 20 Estus Flask, now we're going to abandon it. Let's see, what can we do next? We haven't actually finished the Duke's Archives. Although, we haven't killed Sif, which would take us to the Four Kings. I guess we could do the Duke's Archives. That makes sense. I don't think we hit a... No, okay. We can't warp to the Duke's Archives bonfire that we did hit. Now it's interesting to note that the warpable bonfires that you had available to you before the DLC was a much shorter list than after the DLC came out. The DLC allowed you to warp to additional bonfires that previously you couldn't warp to. And I don't know if anyone's kept track of that list. It'd be interesting to go back and read it, because at this point I've forgotten what the original list looked like. But I remember it was very short. There are quite a few more now. I almost feel like it doubled. Or close to it. This is an interesting looking area right here. There's almost no other area in the game that looks quite like it. And it's such a small little stretch. It just takes you from Anor Londo right up into the Duke's Archives. And that's it, pretty much. These halls are pretty cool looking, to be honest, with each statue having a flame. What's interesting is if you look at it, I don't normally do this, this is more of like an epic name bro thing, but if you look at it, it's just a flame in their hand. It's not. I used to think these were candles, and then one day I just stopped and looked, and I was like, wait a minute, that's not a candle, it's just an open flame right in their hand. Interesting, huh? Must be magic. It does explain why this area is so well lit, though. And you got your lanterns up there, which I never bothered to look at. Oh, let's hit this. So this is our warp point in case something happens. And with that, guys, we're pretty much at the end of this episode. I know we weren't able to kill Manus, but hey, you saw me defeat somebody. Who did we defeat this time around? I thought we killed the boss this time around. Did we not? Maybe we didn't. I don't even remember. I've done so many of these playthroughs back to back now. Trying to get caught up and get ahead of myself with these. I just forget what's happened. Well, guys, thanks for joining me again. I know I didn't talk about as much this time. I was a little quieter than usual. But make sure to follow me on Twitter and on Facebook. That helps out a lot. Liking the video and leaving comments is also really cool, as well as subscribing here at Foxeo Plays and my main channel at FoxeoGames. Links are all in the description of the video. And I will see you guys next time. Later, everybody.